Welcome students, welcome to the session. So today we will learn about the oxidation reactions in the paper reaction mechanism and synthesis and nanomaterials. So in this particular paper the unit 2 consists of the oxidation reactions. So unit 2 consists of oxidation reactions. So in earlier classes we have learnt about oxidations. So what are the facts that we know about oxidation? What are the facts that we have learned till now about the oxidation reactions? We have learned that oxidation means an atom, if it loses its electrons, it is called as the oxidation reaction. Say for example, if I take iron, if I take iron, if it loses its electrons, say it is losing 2 electrons, it forms ferrous ions. So this is iron metal which is losing 2 electrons to form ferrous ions. Ferrous ions. So if any atom loses its electrons, then this process is called as oxidation. So oxidation means loss of electrons. Loss of electrons is called as oxidation reaction. Now what is reduction then? If loss of electrons is called as oxidation, what is reduction? Reduction means gain of electrons. Say for example, if I take zinc ions, these are gaining 2 electrons to form zinc solid. So this is zinc ions forming zinc metal. So in the process of formation of zinc metal from zinc ions, the zinc is gaining 2 electrons. Since this is gaining the 2 electrons, it is called as reduction. This is what we have studied till now, that oxidation means losing of electrons, reduction means gaining of electrons. And both reduction and oxidation always occurs simultaneously. Only oxidation or only reduction of any reaction is not possible. Always both oxidation and reduction occurs in pairs. So what do I mean by oxidation and reduction occurs in pair? Means if I am considering the copper losing its electrons to form the copper ions, it is not possible unless it has another atom which is capable of taking these electrons from copper. So always the oxidation and reduction should take place simultaneously in a particular reaction. Such a type of reaction where oxidation and reduction are occurring simultaneously is called as redox reaction. Such type of reaction is called as redox reaction. Say for example, if you consider this particular reaction where the copper ions are reacting with zinc solid to give copper solid and zinc ions, what we observe is the copper is losing 2 electrons to form the copper solid. Therefore, this is gaining 2 electrons. This is gaining electrons. This is gaining electrons. Therefore, this can be called as reduction. This can be called as reduction. If you take zinc solid, the zinc solid being converted into zinc ions, this is losing electrons. Since this is losing electrons, this can be called as oxidation. So this is a redox reaction where reduction and oxidation are taking place simultaneously. Now what we observe here is the copper is capable of undergoing reduction by taking the electrons from zinc. Means the copper is trying to oxidize your zinc ions, zinc solid. Therefore, this cuprous ions are called as oxidizing agent. And what we observe in case of your zinc solid, this is losing electrons. This is losing electrons means this is giving away its electrons to some other atom which is undergoing reduction. Therefore, the zinc can be called as reducing agent. So what we observe is, any atom, if it is undergoing a reduction, it acts as an oxidizing agent. If it is undergoing oxidation, it acts as a reducing agent. So a redox reaction will consist of oxidation as well as reduction taking place, where one of the atom is acting as oxidation, the other is acting as a reducing agent. One is acting as oxidizing agent, the other one is acting as reducing agent. So this is what we have studied till now in our previous classes, where we have seen that what is oxidation, what is reduction, and what is a redox reaction, and the oxidation and reduction always occur simultaneously to give the oxidation as well reduction occurs simultaneously. And what is meant by oxidizing reagent? What is meant by reducing reagent? Now let us go for the main topic, that is oxidation of carbon. When I say oxidation of carbon, we all know that carbon does not exhibit any variable oxidation state, and most of the carbon compounds are covalent in nature. When I say they are covalent in nature, there is no ionic state for the carbon. Then how can we know whether the carbon has undergone oxidation or not? The oxidation of the carbon can be known by calculating the formal charge on the carbon atom in different functional groups of organic molecules. Now what is meant by formal charge? Formal charge means what is the charge that may be present on a carbon atom depending upon the atoms that are attached to the carbon atom is called as formal charge. And formal charge of the carbon varies from -4 to +4. Why I am saying this as -4 to +4 is because we know that the carbon is tetravalent in nature, which means that it has the capability to form 4 bonds with different atoms. Therefore, its charge ranges from -4 to +4. By knowing what is the formal charge that is present on the carbon, we can tell something about whether this carbon has undergone oxidation or reduction. Now how can we define the oxidation state of a carbon? As I said, the oxidation state of a carbon in a redox reaction in the organic molecules. Even in organic molecules, when you have the redox, when I say the reduction or oxidation, it will always occur simultaneously. So it is always a redox reaction. So if an organic molecule is undergoing oxidation, definitely it should have an oxidizing agent. And if it is undergoing reduction, it should have a reducing agent. So the carbon molecules can undergo oxidation by using different oxidizing reagents. And the oxidation state of a carbon means the formal charge of a carbon, which can be known by doing some calculations to find out what is the formal charge that is present on the carbon atom. Now if I see what is the change in the oxidation state of the carbon, as I said, that is nothing but the formal charge, which can be calculated by following some rules. What is the first rule? The first rule is, we know that the organic molecules itself means hydrocarbons or derivatives of hydrocarbons. So when I say hydrocarbons, most of the organic molecules contain carbon-hydrogen bond. So when I say it is having carbon-hydrogen bond, means that most of the carbons are bonded with hydrogen, and we know that the hydrogen is most electropositive, more electropositive when compared to your carbon. So when I say it is more electropositive when compared to carbon, then due to the binding of hydrogen to the carbon, it will give a formal charge of -1 to your carbon atom. So there will be, for each hydrogen binding to the carbon, it will be contributing a charge of -1 to your carbon atom. Say for example, if I take this molecule, which is a simple alkane, you can call this as ethane, consisting of 2 carbon atoms. So if I consider the carbon atom here, this carbon atom is bonded to 3 hydrogens. Since this is bonded to 3 hydrogens, each hydrogen is contributing a -1 charge to the carbon. Therefore, the formal charge on this carbon atom can be -1 into 3, which is nothing but -3. Therefore, I can say that the formal charge of carbon in ethane is -3. Okay, that is the formal charge that is present in ethane molecule. Now, if you consider another molecule, whenever there is a carbon-carbon bond, like we see in case of your ethane, there is a carbon-carbon bond between the 2 carbon atoms here. So when I say carbon-carbon bond, the electronegativity between the 2 carbons is same. Therefore, there will be no contribution of any charge to the carbon atom due to the binding of carbon. So there is no change in the oxidation state of this, or the formal charge of this carbon due to the binding of the carbon, or I can say that they will have the same oxidation state. So the carbon's formal charge is not being affected when it is bonded to your carbon atom. Then if you go for the next rule, that is what happens. Okay, there is one example here. So here you can see the methane. Here you have 4 hydrogens present. Therefore, the formal charge is 4 into -1. So it becomes -4. Then if you come to the next rule for finding out the formal charge, when the carbon is bonded to a more electronegative member X. What are the electronegative members that are attached to the carbon in carbon molecules? We know that the electronegative element X may be either oxygen or nitrogen or halogen or sulfur. These are the most common electronegative elements which are attached to the carbon. So whenever you have an electronegative element, electronegative means it will try to pull the electron pairs towards itself. Therefore, whenever you have an electronegative element attached to the carbon, the formal charge on the carbon will be increased by +1. The formal charge, because it is giving away the electrons, the formal charge on your carbon will be increased by +1. Say, for example, we will see one example. Yeah. So if you consider this tetrachloromethane, where the carbon is attached to 4 chlorine atoms. Now, as I said, each electronegative atom will be contributing +1 charge to your carbon. Therefore, you have 4 chlorine atoms attached to it. So, this becomes 4 into +1. So, the formal charge on the carbon will become 4. So, the formal charge on this particular carbon atom is +4, which is due to the presence of 4 electronegative atoms around the carbon atom. if you consider a molecule like the ketone, and if I am considering finding out the formal charge on this particular carbon atom. Now this carbon atom is attached to 2 carbons on either side, and as I said that the 2 carbons are not going to contribute any charge to the carbon because all are having the same electronegativity. So I can write 2 into 0 plus. Now I have oxygen attached to this carbon, and this oxygen is attached to the carbon through a double bond. Since this is attached to a double bond, therefore each bond will contribute a +1 to your carbon atom. So this becomes +2 into +1, so which is nothing but +2. Therefore the charge on this particular carbon atom, or formal charge on this particular carbon atom, is +2. So in this way we can calculate the formal charge on the carbon atom by following these rules. So let me sum up. What is the rule? The rule is when the carbon is attached to hydrogen, the contribution or the formal charge on the carbon will be -1 for each hydrogen atom attached to the carbon. When the carbon is attached to a carbon atom, there is no change in the formal charge of the carbon, or the contribution by the carbon is nil. When the carbon is attached to an electronegative element, where the X may be either halogen, or it may be oxygen, or it may be sulfur, or it may be nitrogen. Depending upon the number of bonds with which your heteroatom is attached to the carbon, each bond will be contributing a +1 of formal charge, which means that if it is a CX, the contribution is +1. It is C double bond X, the contribution is +2. If it is C triple bond X, the contribution is +3. So in this way, if you can find out what is the contribution that is given by your extra element or your electronegative element, you can find out the formal charge that is present on the carbon. By finding out the formal charge present on the carbon, you can know about the oxidation state of your carbon atom. Say for example, if you will do few exercises on this, you will be able to understand more clearly about the calculation of your formal charge. Say for example, let me see another example. Let us consider the formal charge on this particular carbon atom, that is your olefinic carbon atom. If I am considering this particular carbon atom. Now what are the different bonds present around this particular carbon atom? There is a double bond between carbon and carbon. How many number of bonds may be present between the carbon and carbon? The contribution is 0. Therefore there will be no contribution of, due to this particular I can say due to this particular carbon atom, there is no contribution of the charge on the carbon atom. Due to the hydrogen atoms, it will be giving a -1 charge to the carbon. Therefore, the formal charge on this particular carbon atom will become -2. And this -2 is due to the contribution of the 2 hydrogen atoms. Whereas this carbon is not going to give you any contribution to the formal charge of the carbon. Similarly, if I go with another example, let me see for another example. So, in nutshell, what I mean to say is, whenever there is a hydrogen, you will have minus charge. Whenever there is an electronegative element, you will have a plus charge contributed to your carbon atom. Now let us see the formal charge of an alkynic carbon here. Now this carbon is attached with 4 carbon atoms, therefore it is 0. Similarly, for this is 0. If I look at this is -3. Similarly, for this is -3. In this way, we can calculate the formal charge on every carbon atom depending upon the number of hydrogens, number of carbons, or number of electronegative atoms attached to your carbon atom. So let us go with acid, carboxylic acid, ketones and carbon tetrachloride. If I go with ketone here, if I look at the ketone that is present, if I look at the ketone that is present here, in case of the ketone, if you look at this carbonyl carbon, this carbonyl carbon is attached to 2 carbon atoms. The contribution is 0. It is attached to oxygen, which is doubly bonded. Therefore, this is 2 into plus 1. So, the formal charge here is plus 2 for this particular carbonyl carbon. Whereas, if I look at this methyl carbon, the formal charge is minus 3. If I look at the methylene carbon, that is CH2 here, the formal charge will become minus 2. Similarly, if I go with this, the formal charge will become plus 2 and plus 1. Therefore, this is plus 3. The formal charge is plus 3. Whereas here the formal charge is plus 4. Okay. So, in this way, we can calculate the formal charge on the carbon atom. Based on the formal charge, we can know whether the carbon is undergoing oxidation or reduction. So, whatever we have calculated, that is called as the formal charge, and this formal charge is between minus 4 to plus 4 for the carbon molecules, and it will help us to track the flow of electrons, or it will help us to track whether it is undergoing the oxidation or reduction. So, when I say the formal charge on the carbon is ranging from minus 4 to plus 4. So, if when the carbon will have minus 4, when it is having more number of hydrogen atoms. When will it have plus 4? When it is having more number of electronegative atoms. Therefore, I can say that whenever it is minus 4 to plus 4, there is a losing of electrons from minus 4 to plus 4, or in other words, when the positive charge is being increased, or the positive formal charge on the carbon is being increased, the carbon is said to be oxidized. The carbon is said to be oxidized. Whereas if negative formal charge is being increased on the carbon atom, then the carbon is said to be reduced. So you can know whether the carbon is undergoing oxidation or reduction by knowing the formal charge. So minus 4 to plus 4, you can say it is oxidation, change in the formal charge. From minus 4 to plus 4 can be called as oxidation, whereas plus 4 to minus 4 can be called as reduction. This can be called as reduction. So by knowing the formal charge, you can tell about whether a particular reaction is an oxidation reaction or a reduction reaction. So if you look at the organic redox reactions, they are different from that of inorganic reactions, because in inorganic reactions we see only the transfer of electrons or change in the electrons taking place in the inorganic molecules, whereas in case of the organic molecules, there is the electrons being transferred along with the protons, and electrons, a proton and 2 electrons. Whenever there is in the form of hydride ion, it is a proton and 2 electrons, or it may be in the form of conjunction with transfer of electrons, always occurs along with the protons, which is termed as hydrogenation, and the removal of is called as dehydrogenation. So we will look into this hydrogenation reactions and dehydrogenation reactions, which involve the removal of the hydrogen or addition of hydrogen. The dehydrogenation, that is removal of hydrogens, is called as oxidation reaction, because whenever there is a removal of hydrogen, the formal charge is moving towards the positive side. Therefore, it is undergoing oxidation. When I say hydrogenation, means addition of hydrogen. So, addition of hydrogen is going to make the carbon to move towards more negative formal charge. Therefore, this can be called as reduction. So, in case of organic reactions, organic oxidation reduction reactions, the hydrogenation can be called as reduction, whereas a dehydrogenation can be called as oxidation reaction. So, hydrogenation means addition of hydrogen, which is called as reduction, whereas dehydrogenation means removal of hydrogen, which can be called as oxidation. See, for example, if I go with the conversion of alcohol into a ketone, you can see there is a removal of two hydrogen atoms. Where one of the hydrogen is removed in the form of a proton, whereas the other has been removed in the form of a hydride ion. That is why I said in case of the oxidation of organic molecules, along with electrons, there is also the removal of hydrogen, either in the form of a proton or in the form of a hydride ion. Now, since this is a dehydrogenation reaction, therefore, I can call this as an oxidation reaction. Similarly, you can see what is the change in the oxidation state or the formal charge of the carbon when it is being converted from alcohol to ketone. So, when you consider the alcoholic carbon here, the formal charge on this carbon is 0, because the contribution due to the two alkyl groups is 0. The contribution due to this hydrogen is -1 and due to this oxygen is +1. Therefore, the total formal charge becomes 0. Whereas in case of the ketone, if you consider what is the total formal charge, the total formal charge is +2. So now there is a change of the charge from 0 to +2. Since there is an increase in the positive formal charge of the carbon, therefore you can call this as a oxidation reaction. So you can see the ketonic carbon is +2, alcoholic carbon is 0. Therefore, the total formal charge that is present on your carbon has been changed. So what we have seen is in organic reactions, the redox reactions look different. There is electrons in the redox reactions are transferred in the form of hydrogens, or which may be either a proton or it may be a hydride ion. So in this way, the oxidation reactions of your organic molecules are somewhat different from that of your inorganic molecules. So in case of organic molecules, when I say a carbon atom loses a bond to hydrogen, when a carbon atom loses a bond to hydrogen, then it forms a bond with a heteroatom. It is termed as oxidation, because whenever it is losing a bond from hydrogen means it is increasing its formal charge towards the positive side. Therefore, it is called as the oxidation reaction. Now let us go into this hydrogenation reaction of the olefin. So if you look at the olefinic carbon here, the olefinic carbons here will have a formal charge Just a second. So we'll go with the example of olefin. The example of olefin, where you can see if you come to the example of olefin, which is undergoing hydrogenation reaction, that is addition of hydrogen. So in the case of the olefin, the two olefinic carbon atoms have 0 as their formal charge. Now when they are changing into an alkane, the formal charge on both the carbon atoms is now -1. Now since the formal charge is moving towards a more negative side, therefore I can say this is a reduction reaction. So it is a reduction reaction because there is a negative increase in the formal charge of the carbon atom. So such type of reactions are called as reduction reactions. Now let us look at just that the hydrogenation or dehydrogenation can occur in case of the organic molecules, where I can say the hydrogenation reaction can be called as the reduction reaction. Hydrogenation can be called as reduction reaction, whereas dehydrogenation can be called as oxidation reaction. Oxidation reaction. It can also involve removal of oxygen atom. So removal of oxygen atom is again reduction, whereas if it is addition of oxygen atom, then it becomes oxidation. So in case of organic molecules, removal of hydrogen or addition of oxygen can be called as oxidation, and vice versa. That is, addition of hydrogen or removal of oxygen can be called as the reduction reaction. Say for example, if you consider an alkane, alcohol, ketone, acid to the carbon dioxide, you can see there is an addition of oxygen atom taking place. In case of the methane to alcohol, there is addition of one oxygen. Then from alcohol to ketone, there is a removal of hydrogen. From ketone to acid, there is again addition of one oxygen atom. Then again alcohol to carbon dioxide, there is a removal of hydrogen atom. So if you consider this, here you can see there is an addition of, so if you consider this particular change, you can see from methane to alcohol, there is an addition of one oxygen atom taking place. So you can call this as oxidation. From alcohol to ketone, there is no addition of extra oxygen atom, but there is a removal of two hydrogens taking place. Therefore, removal of hydrogens taking place. Therefore, this can be called as again oxidation. From ketone to acid, again there is an addition of one oxygen atom. Therefore, this is oxidation reaction. From acid to carbon dioxide, there is removal of hydrogen atoms. Therefore, this is again oxidation reactions. So, if you look at the formal charge here, around this carbon, the formal charge is -4 because you have 4 hydrogens present. Around this carbon, the formal charge is -3 plus 1. So, this is -2. Around this carbon, if you see, the formal charge is 0. Around this carbon, if you see, the formal charge is +2. Around this carbon, the formal charge is +4. So you can see from -4 to +4, there is an increase in the positive charge or formal charge around the carbon. Therefore, this can be called as an oxidation reactions. Similarly, if you look at this, this is ethane molecule, which is again getting oxidized to give you different molecules. So in this way, if you can calculate, you can find out what is the formal charge on the different atoms and find out whether the molecule is undergoing oxidation or reduction. So if you look at in gist, what we have learnt about reduction and oxidation in case of organic molecules, we have learned that the reduction reaction always consists of gain of electrons. Gain of electrons is reduction, whereas loss of electrons is oxidation. Say for example, if I take phenoxide ion, this phenoxide ion is losing one electron in presence of cerium plus 4, which is changing into cerium plus 3 to give rise to a phenoxide radical. If this is forming a phenoxide radical, there is a loss of one electron. So this can be called as reduction because this is gaining one electron, whereas this can be called as oxidation. So I can say that cerium is acting as, or cerium plus 4 is acting as an oxidizing reagent for the oxidation of my phenoxide ion into phenoxide radical, because oxidation is loss of electrons, reduction is gain of electrons. So this is gaining the electrons, therefore this is undergoing reduction. Phenoxide ion is losing its electrons, therefore it is undergoing oxidation. So that is one of the example where we can classify what is oxidation and what is reduction. Another important thing is formation of carbon-hydrogen bonds is called as reduction, whereas loss of carbon-hydrogen bonds is called as oxidation. Say for example, if I take an olefinic carbon, this is adding up say hydrogen molecule to give a saturated hydrocarbon, then I can say this is adding up hydrogen, so this is reduction. Whereas the reverse reaction, if I say the reverse reaction where the alkane is losing its hydrogen to form an olefine, then I can call it as oxidation. So the reduction is hydrogenation reaction because this is undergoing addition of hydrogen. The reverse oxidation is a dehydrogenation reaction because this is losing its hydrogen molecule. So dehydrogenation, loss of carbon-hydrogen bond can be called as dehydrogenation. So dehydrogenation is oxidation, whereas hydrogenation is reduction. Hydrogenation is reduction. Now the oxidation can also be classified as formation of carbon-oxygen bond. So if there is an increase in the number of oxygen atoms around a carbon atom, it can be called as an oxidation reaction. Say for example, if I take a ketone which is being reacted with a peracid to form an ester, there is an increase in the oxygen atom, therefore this can be called as an oxidation reaction. So oxidation reaction is also the formation of carbon-oxygen bond, or in other words you can say it is addition of oxygen atom. So addition of oxygen or removal of hydrogen can be called as oxidation in case of organic molecules. So that is what I want to say about the oxidation reactions, where we can say that the oxidation is due to the addition of oxygen or the removal of the hydrogen. Now this is a ladder, just I want to display this ladder where the red lines indicates the oxidation, blue lines indicates the oxidation reduction reactions, whereas the black lines indicates neither oxidation nor reduction. So you can have different types of oxidation, like an aldehyde can be converted into carboxylic acid in several ways. Similarly, a primary alcohol can be converted either into aldehyde or into carboxylic acid, depending upon what are the different reagents that are being used. So in this particular unit, you will be studying about different oxidizing reagents. What are the different oxidizing reagents that are used for the oxidation of your organic molecules and for the conversion of one functional group into the other functional group? What are the different oxidizing reagents? What are the conditions that are necessary for that particular oxidizing reagent, and which functional group can be converted into the oxidized functional group? What are the different substrates that are used for a particular reagent? So you will be studying about different oxidizing reagents, their mechanism, the conditions in which the reaction is taking place in our further lectures. So I thank you all for this particular thing, for knowing about what is meant by the oxidation reactions in organic molecules. So in the second module, we will learn about what are the different ways in which the oxidation reactions will be taking place, and we will also learn about the different oxidizing reagents.